Hey, sweet friends, welcome back to my channel. If you are new, I am Courtney, and it is time to cook some meals. So I've got 3 delicious dinners to share with you guys this week. It was Memorial Day weekend. We had a lot of stuff going on, so I only got 3, but they were 3 winners, and I am so excited to show you guys what it is I made. So we're going to kick this off with the viral cheeseburger tacos. If you, have been on the internet at all, you have likely seen somebody make these or talk about these or the TikTok videos. So I'm finally going to give it a shot. So I decided to start off by making some burger sauce. This is like a knockoff of the McDonald's Big Mac sauce. It was so good. I can't believe I've never made this before. Typically, I just get really, traditional with my burger, mustard, mayonnaise, ketchup, and that's pretty much it. But this was so fun. So I mixed some mayonnaise and some mustard, and then it called for white vinegar, but my husband's not a real big fan of vinegar flavor, so I just used rice vinegar, so we would still get the tang, but it wouldn't be as strong. You can go either direction. I will link this recipe for the burger sauce down below so you guys can make it at home. I put in both sweet and dill pickle relish, which was so good. I love pickles on my burger, so this is definitely a win for me. Then I put in some paprika. I'm using smoked paprika because that's what I typically keep on hand 9 times out of 10. I do have regular, but for this I definitely felt like the smoked would bring in the flavor profile I was looking for. Then I added in some onion powder and some garlic powder, and of course some salt and some pepper, and then just gave this a really, really good mix because we want all these flavors to melt together. So I'm just going to pop this in the fridge and let it rest while I'm doing everything else, and that really does give the flavor time to develop on this. And I feel like that's key. You want everything to kind of marry together, so make sure that you give it plenty of time to do just that. So, like I said, mix it together, pop it in the fridge, and then we're going to move on to the actual cheeseburger tacos. So, I've been avoiding these just because I think this step is weird. And, I did it, and it was delicious. It was so stinking good. But I still think this step is weird. So, you start off by pressing some ground beef onto a tortilla. I have seen a few people use corn tortillas, but mostly I'm seeing flour tortillas, and that's what I went with because I just thought that's what I would prefer. And you just press out a really nice thin layer of ground beef. Basically, we're kind of mimicking like the smash burger. We're going to have a thin layer of beef that we mash down on there to get that beautiful sear and those crispy, lacy edges. That's basically what we're doing here. Also, you want to make sure you keep it thin because the other side of the ground beef does not have direct contact with your heat source, and it also isn't going to cook that long because we don't want to burn our tortillas. So you want to make sure that this is a thin enough layer you can cook it pretty much on that first side like 90% of the way before you flip it over. So I'm really taking my time mashing this out, getting it as thin as I possibly can. Now, do keep in mind, once you throw this on the heat, it is going to shrink up. Ground beef always loses a lot of grease and stuff and shrinks really well. So it's going to shrink a lot. So make sure you get all the way out there to those edges, maybe like even a little over them if you want to, because you want to make sure you still have plenty of like your cheeseburger patty left in the middle of the tortilla. Once you've done all that, just set that off to the side. I'm making a total of 3, one for my husband, one for my oldest son, and one for myself. My 2 youngers had chicken nuggets. They don't like burgers. I'm now seasoning these, and I'm very generously seasoning them with burger seasoning. I typically season my regular burgers very generously. I don't mix the seasoning into the meat. I just sprinkle it on the outside, so I'm pretty generous with it so that it flavors all the way through at the end. You can use whatever seasoning you want. I just had, like I said, a generic burger seasoning. Salt, pepper, and garlic powder work just as fine or just as well too, so if that's what you got, use it. So then I just took these and plopped them on my griddle. You can do this in a skillet, you can do it on a flat top, you can do it if you have an outdoor griddle, even better because they do splatter a lot of grease. And then as you can see, I'm using my spatula, just kind of press down and make sure they are making like really good solid contact with that heat source, and that's how you get that beautiful sear. So you want that because that brown color that develops on meat is flavor, and it's incredible flavor. The seasoning that we put on there helps to develop that, and then really solid contact with your heat source, pressing it down like that on a pretty decent level of heat is going to give us just beautiful color, beautiful texture, and beautiful flavor. Now, as you can see, they are releasing a lot of grease. This was very messy. I would definitely use a pretty lean meat next time. I did learn that going into it this time. This was very messy. It reminded me of like a birria taco because it was just so wet. But there's all that beautiful color. You can see they shrank considerably, and the flavor that developed on these were just absolutely incredible. It tastes like a diner burger, and you know, sometimes those are the best burgers. So I just sprinkled a little bit of shredded cheese because I'm not the biggest fan of American, but I see most people using American cheese, so whichever way you want it. I'm not even going to put cheese on my son's because if you're new here, he doesn't like cheese. Then I'm just going to pull them off, and that's what they look like. We only give them like a minute or two on the other side just to kind of crisp up the tortilla just a little bit. And then I just drizzled some of that burger sauce that we made on there. Now, I didn't show it. I blotted the top of these a little bit with a paper towel because they were so greasy. So I did blot a little bit of that grease off because it was just so much. And then you put on whatever burger toppings you like. I'm doing onions, tomato, and lettuce, but you could do bacon on there if you wanted to, or mushrooms. Whatever you like on your burger, you want to put on these. I did try to like shred my lettuce, like shave it thin, which I didn't succeed as thin as I wanted to, but it was still pretty thin. And then I diced up the tomatoes pretty small and the onions pretty small because when I fold this, I want to be able to like everything to fit in there. So I did not treat it like a burger. I treated it definitely much more like a taco. And it worked out beautifully. But like I said, keep in mind this was super greasy. Use a lean ground beef. That would be what I changed for sure. Definitely a lean ground beef. But the flavor was on point. I loved it. It was so delicious. And I would definitely make these again. Now, I'm not linking the actual recipe down below. This is really just about a technique. But I will link the burger sauce down below because I have that. I just didn't have any place that I sourced this from. It's just been all over the internet. So I just kind of remembered what I saw in videos and ran with it. All right, next we're going to do some honey garlic chicken in the slow cooker. I think I've actually done this before on my channel, but I'm not 110% sure that I have, so we're going to do it again. It was good. I needed a quick meal. I was supposed to be making this like in the oven or on the stovetop, but on this particular day I ended up being super busy, so I had to throw it in the slow cooker. So we start off with some ketchup and then some soy sauce. You could also substitute coconut aminos, and then I added in a very generous amount of honey, like it's equal portions of soy sauce, ketchup, and honey. I'll link this recipe down below for y'all. It called for apple cider vinegar, which I am using, just like a dash of it, because it's overpowered. You can't taste it. And then, of course, you can't have honey garlic chicken without garlic. So I'm using this pre-minced stuff just because it is a little bit more potent, and I wanted that garlic to just really shine through. And then you can use like red pepper flakes or cayenne. I love this stuff, this chili garlic oil stuff. You guys have seen me use it before. Huge fan of it, so I just threw in a spoonful of that. And then it calls for ginger. I had some fresh in my freezer, so I'm just going to grate that in. But, of course, you could use the squeezy stuff in your fridge or the powder. That is all fine as well. Whatever you have, just use it. I do like the flavor of this fresh ginger though. It's a different flavor and it's not expensive and it keeps in your freezer for a long time. So just going to keep that in mind. I kind of think it might be the new way that I'm going to go. It's just as easy as the squeezy stuff really. So I think this is what I'm going to start doing from here on out. I'm sorry, my bird is talking to me in the background. Anytime I talk, he thinks I'm talking to him. So when I do a voiceover back here in my room, he just starts chirping at me. So sorry. Anyway, I mixed this really, really well. That honey is kind of hard to incorporate sometimes. So make sure everything really, really does get mixed in well because we want our sauce to taste really, really good. We don't want any burn spots or anything where, you know, the honey is all pulled on one side and it just cooks too much and burns. So do make sure you mix it very, very well. And then we're just going to pop our chicken in here. Now I am using chicken thighs and I do feel like they were probably the way to go for this. You could use breast and that's cool too, but watch them so they don't dry out too much. My chicken was still like a little bit frozen, so I basically just kind of put them in and then flipped them over so they were covered in sauce. If yours is thawed, you can really toss them around in here and get them fully coated, and that's even better. I just was working with what I had because I was actually expecting to cook this towards the end of the day, not throw it in a slow cooker in the morning, but life's funny and this is how it worked out. But as you can see, I'm just making sure it is fully coated on all sides, tossing it around. And then we're just going to slow cook this all day long. This is definitely an easy recipe, and it's stuff that I think most of us have on hand. And of course, if you didn't have apple cider vinegar, no big deal. You could substitute another vinegar, leave the vinegar out. But they're pretty common ingredients, so I feel like most of us probably have this. Now, after this had gone for quite a few hours, like the last 20 minutes that were left, I'm going to make a cornstarch slurry. So I've got some water in that little white bowl there, and I'm just going to add in my cornstarch. I try to do an equal amount of cornstarch and water, and you can see I'm measuring so carefully there with my spoon. But I'm just going to mix these together and then add it in, and it's cooking on high because the chicken was frozen. So this only takes about 20 minutes to get it really cooked enough to thicken up for me. So I've already shredded the chicken. I just took my little ground beef shredder thing that, you know, what is it called? A meat masher? I don't know. The one everybody's got. You can get at Dollar Tree. You can order it from Pampered Chef. I just took that and I just mashed my chicken, and it actually shreds up beautifully when I do that. So you can, of course, like I've seen people use their hand mixers and stuff, but I'll just use my meat masher. It's quick and it's easy. And then I just poured that cornstarch slurry in there, and I'm going to put the top back on and let it go for like 20 minutes. And I've got some rice cooking right here in that pot. I'm just going to serve it over rice with a veggie on the side. I think I did green beans on this particular night. This is an easy meal. I mean, the chicken cooked all day in the slow cooker, but this was such an easy meal to throw together. I love easy meals like that sometimes, and it was so full of flavor. My gosh. I mean, incredibly full of flavor. And look at that deep, rich color. You really can't beat it. This was definitely a winner. I will link the recipe down below for y'all to give a try at home. All right, here's the last one. I'm going to make some chicken wings, and I'm going to use something called the Ultimate Dry Rub. I found this on Pinterest, and it sounded really good, and I'm always into trying new like spice blends and rubs and stuff. So I wanted to give this a shot. It is smoky, it is sweet, and it's got some spice to it, so it's fabulous. So it starts off with some brown sugar, and then you need a lot of paprika. So I split it in half. Half of it's smoked paprika and half of it's just plain, because I didn't want that smoky flavor to be too strong, but I definitely wanted it there, and I'm glad I did. Then I added in some salt and some pepper. And then we're going to add in the rest of our seasoning, some garlic powder and some onion powder. And this is called, I think, for cayenne pepper. I'll link it down below, which I could not find. So I ended up using red pepper flakes, and I did about a teaspoonful. I could have done more. Next time I would do more, because it had a little, you know, a little warmth to it. But I could have done with some more. It would have been fantastic. And some cumin. It has cumin in it as well. Don't want to forget that. And I think it has coriander in it too, which is not something I use all the time. And I almost didn't add it because I forgot I had it. And then at the last minute, I was like, wait, I do own that. So I did throw it in, but I think it'd be fine without it as well. This was so good though. Like there was something about it. It almost tasted like a barbecue rub, but didn't. It was fantastic. So I just mixed all these spices together in that little container, and I actually have some left over, which is awesome because I can put it on something else or make some more. I've got some pork chops in my freezer that I bought for my husband and grill, and I'm actually thinking about making some more of this and putting it on those pork chops before he tosses them out on the grill, because I think it'll be so good. I love spice blends, and I really want to get more into making my own and not spending so much on buying the already blended spices at the store. I think it'd be wiser for me to just purchase, you know, individual spices and make my own stuff. That way they're not sitting in my cabinet as long, and I'm not, you know, like letting them lose their flavor and stuff like that. So this was a fun experiment. I would totally do it again. So there's my chicken wings. I just had a big, I think it was like a 5-pound bag. And I put them all in a bowl, and then I'm just kind of like tossing them around with this paper towel to wipe off some of the excess moisture. I wanted them kind of dry because I really want that beautiful crispy skin on the outside. So you don't want them to really be too wet. I just want them slightly damp so all my spices adhere to the skin of the chicken. So I found that this is just the easiest way for me to do that. I mean, you can lay them out and blot them dry, but I typically do this and it works out just fine for me. And then I'm going to add some cornstarch. Now, really, you're supposed to add baking powder, but I couldn't find mine. I guess I'm out. I guess I am. I know I had some. I might have used it all for the cookies. So I'm using cornstarch in its place, which works out well too. Basically, like if you're just like oven frying or air frying, it helps to develop a really beautiful crispy skin. And that's what I was looking to do. Cornstarch works just as well for the most part, so I just went with that. And then we're going to add our spice blend, and I was really generous about it. In fact, I'm going to add a little bit more here in a minute, but I'm just kind of tossing my wings around, making sure everybody has some of that spice blend on them. And I loved them. They weren't overpowering or anything, but the flavor was so delicious. And again, I'm just going to put mine in my air fryer. You could oven fry them if you wanted to. You could even like pan fry them, I guess. I don't know that I've ever pan fried little chicken wings. I'm sure I did. I must have at some point. But the air fryer is definitely my favorite. I love how easy it is to cook stuff like this in the air fryer, and it's so juicy and tender on the inside, and that skin gets a beautiful crispness, and that spice just kind of pops. It's fantastic. And of course, I mean, it's cleaner because I don't have grease splattering everywhere, and probably a little healthier because I'm not deep frying anything. So this is my way to do it. Now you will see I kind of cram mine on my sheet because this is only like baking tray I have for my air fryer, and I want them all to go in at once. an impatient person. I don't want to have to do like 2 separate things of chicken. I'm going to fit them all on here if I can. And I know that's not the best way to do it, but it always works out for me. They always get crispy. They're always delicious. So do as I say, not as I do is probably the best advice I can give you. You really are supposed to kind of space them out a little more so that they air fry really beautifully all the way around. But what can I say? I have some bad habits. Anyway, I got those all fit on that little tray right there. And then I'm just going to go pop them in my air fryer. I do mine for 20 minutes, but these were a little bigger. So I actually cooked them for the initial 20 minutes. And then I ended up doing them for like another 8 minutes because some of the really big ones I could tell were not done. And I do them at 400 degrees, but you could do them at like 375 too. Like I said, just kind of like adjust for the size of your chicken wings. Mine were on the wider side, the bigger side. So I wanted to make sure that chicken cooked all the way through. If you've got a meat thermometer, even better. And then I just roasted some cauliflower and had some mac and cheese on the side. And this was a winner dinner, y'all. It was so good. I will link the spice blend down below so you guys can make it at home. Anyway, that's all I've got this week. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you're not already, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stick around for more because I have tons of content coming your way. Here's a couple of videos up on the screen. I hope you check one out, and I will see you soon. Have a great day, guys.